Welcome to the 700 Club. It's being called the Miracle on the Hudson. The incredible splash landing of Flight 1549 could have killed more than 100 people.
Instead, all 155 people on board survived. Reporter Jennifer Wishon has the story.
A commercial jet bobbing in icy water in the middle of the Hudson Bay. A disturbing sight with a miraculous ending.
It was terrifying, but if it was anything, it was the best way to have a plane crash.
Shortly after Flight 1549 took off from LaGuardia Airport, passenger Jeff KOLODJAY noticed something was terribly wrong with one of the engines.
Fire flames coming out of it, and I was looking right at it because I was sitting right there. And it just started smelling a lot like gasoline.
That's when he says passengers started praying. The plane reportedly ran into a flock of birds that disabled the engines, but KOLODJAY says he knew he had a chance when he looked down and saw water.
It was coming low, too low, and all of a sudden it just hit the water.
Most passengers were able to walk onto the wings as rescuers plucked them into ferries. But this man wasn't sure he'd make it. Taking matters into his own hands, he stripped off his clothes and jumped into the water.
To my neck underwater, and I just thought I was going to drown.
Passengers say they owe their lives to quick thinking of pilot Chesley Sullenberg, who by all accounts made a picture-perfect crash landing. Birds strike planes every day, usually without incident. But it's rare for a pilot to land a jetliner on water without fatalities. Reports indicate this is the first case in 50 years of commercial flying.
And we were all making sure that people in front of us got off. Everyone, although it was chaotic, everyone kept a pretty cool demeanor, man. That water got cold, but everyone kept a cool demeanor. And God bless patience.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
God bless patience. So what an incredible miracle. And you think about it, and here's a plane going down, and the passengers start to pray. And God answers their prayers in incredible ways.
Well, one of the things they're saying now is that pilot had a background as a glider pilot, which, right guy at the right time.
The new American hero. What you read, who do you want to be your pilot as the plane's going down? Here's a guy with 40 years experience flying airplanes, a graduate of the Air Force Academy, former fighter pilot with the Air Force. And he's a certified glider pilot on top of everything else. So
birds didn't have a chance. God bless them. Someone else was saying today that's a more common scenario than we realize, that every day planes have birds that are.
Well, from what I've read, the engines are actually built to withstand that. But where you really get into trouble is if a whole flock, and this apparently was two. On flying in tandem, geese flying at two flocks,
odds of that?
And if you just look at it and go, wow, how in the world did they survive? Because both engines literally got clogged up with birds, and that's what caused them to go out.
God is good.
God is good. Miracle on the Hudson. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN newsroom. Lee?
Gordon, President Bush bid farewell to the nation last night. It was a 13-minute primetime speech delivered in the East Room of the White House. And the president defended the choices he made during his 2 terms.
My thoughts return to the first night I addressed you from this house, September the 11th, 2001. That morning, terrorists took nearly 3,000 lives in the worst attack on America since Pearl Harbor. America has gone more than 7 years without another terrorist attack on our soil. You may not agree with some of the tough decisions I have made, but I hope you can agree that I was willing to make the tough decisions. I thank you for the prayers that have lifted my spirits.
Mr. Bush also wished President-elect Obama and his family well, and he says he's leaving office with a thankful heart. Diplomatic pressure is building on both sides of the Israeli-Hamas struggle in Gaza, but Israel is also keeping up the military pressure. As John WAAGE reports from Jerusalem, Israeli forces have killed the highest-ranking Hamas leader so far in the 3 weeks of fighting.
In Gaza City, an airstrike killed Hamas Interior Minister Saeed Sayam and several relatives and associates. As head of the security forces, Sayam was one of the 3 highest-ranking leaders of Hamas in Gaza. While Israelis read headlines about ceasefire possibilities, there is little evidence of one in Gaza or in southern Israel, where a Grad rocket in the city of Beersheba Thursday injured 5 people and seriously wounded a 7-year-old boy. With the Obama administration's debut just days away, Israeli leaders are trying to ensure that Israel has both military and diplomatic leverage when the Gaza operation finally ends. Israeli Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni was dispatched to Washington to work on the details of a ceasefire designed to end weapons smuggling at the Egypt-Gaza border. Other talks in Cairo focus on what it will take for Israel and Hamas to stop fighting. As long as Israelis must suffer the shock and stress of color red alarms signaling incoming rockets, their army is prepared to stay in Gaza. John WAAGE, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Gordon, it certainly seems like an end is near. Is that your feeling as well?
Well, I think it's more just because the attacks by Israel against Hamas have been successful. And they're really trying to send a strong message, not to Hamas, not to Iran, not to Syria, but to Egypt, that Egypt, please step up here, and the smuggling of weapons is coming from your territory. It's not coming from the sea. It's coming from these tunnels. And I think if we're going to see peace in this area, it's going to be moderate Muslims that do not believe in terror stepping up and saying we need to stop the flow of arms into Hamas and Gaza. And it's going to take some willpower for them to stand up to Iran and the funding from there, and to Syria as well. But certainly if you live in Israel, you wouldn't want to see rockets raining down on you from a nearby country. You know, I've been in Israel and talked to them, and they say, can you imagine if Canada or Mexico were routinely lobbing rockets at you that aren't particularly with any direction at all, just designed to blow up your neighborhoods? What would America do? Well, the answer is quite clear. I know what Texas would do if Mexico were to do that. So we need to be in prayer and prayer for peace.